Okay, I'm going to talk about different types of intelligence. So, when we typically think of intelligence, we think of IQ tests, right? Like, and an IQ test is good at predicting job performance, and so we put a lot of weight on an IQ test, given the nature of our economy, right? And then, I think the field of psychology defines 8 types of intelligence, and those are that's a little more nuanced, definitely. But even if you think of like a cat versus a dog is, probably has higher social intelligence, right? A dog can socialize with humans better and with other dogs better, perhaps, than cats can, socialize with other cats. And dogs, like wolves hunt in packs, coyotes hunt in packs. Whereas cats are usually solitary hunters, at least, like a tiger is, and even smaller cats probably are. But then again, like lions, they hunt in packs, right? So there's a lot of nuance, is my point. But you could even compare like me to somebody living in a jungle in Africa. Like, if you give us both a math test, I'm going to be the one that appears more intelligent. But if you throw us both out in the jungle, I'm not gonna know how to survive, right? There's the old quote that says, like, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, that fish is gonna be stupid, right, or something like that. And like we need to think about intelligence on a wider scale than just like job performance is the point. There's a lot of people who don't fit into society's social conditioning, and when we automatically label them as stupid or unintelligent, it's kind of bad, because the truth is if we don't have people thinking outside of the box, who think differently and live differently, then we're going to end up missing stuff. We're going to end up not seeing the whole picture. So the fact of the matter is that our intelligence as a collective species kind of lies in diversity, right? We want people thinking we want people thinking about every problem from every direction possible, and the cream of the crop will rise, right? We'll end up finding more a wider variance of potential solutions, and you could even combine some of those solutions, right? So, if what I'm saying here is that nature's intelligence actually lies in diversity, whether it's diversity of thought or diversity of even food or diversity of air. When any single idea or any single species becomes too dominant, nature's going to throw it out, and the reason that happens is because that species ends up competing with itself. So if you think about like a forest, there's often maybe however many different species of trees and undergrowth that are in that forest, and if any single species becomes too dominant, then what's going to happen is there's going to be some bug that evolves to feed on that tree or that undergrowth, right? And it's going to take it down a notch, right? So in the same way that this happens in a forest, it happens with humanity too. If we become too dominant of a species on this planet, the species will, or the planet, the entire ecosystem will find ways to throw us out. And it could be, that could come in many forms, right? If you've ever seen the movie The Happening, I mean, you could think maybe chemicals are just releasing from the trees and they're going to throw us out and, kill us. Or make us kill ourselves, rather. Or we could just plant crops in soil that is void of micronutrients, and the result is we don't get the micronutrients we need, the diverse micronutrients, and our health decays, okay? And we get the rising diseases of disparity that we're seeing, like obesity and depression and whatnot. So the point, again, is that nature's intelligence lies in diversity, and the ability for one species to survive, the ability for a species to survive depends on it not competing with itself. And the way we don't compete with ourselves is we don't become too dominant. So there's a lot of people in the world, but there's also a lot of space in the world that's not necessarily inhabited. Okay, so if we think about a big city like New York City or Shanghai or something, there's so many people packed into that small city, and so long as that city remains diverse, it's probably all right. In the same way that a forest is diverse and can survive in that way. But at the same time, you need to incorporate other species into that city. Literally, you need to put trees in the city, or basically what's going to happen is you're going to have so much pollution in the city, it's going to destroy the health of the people living in that city. So if you I know there's a lot of people who love living in big cities, and they never breathe any open air in like a forest or a national park. But I promise you, this is terrible for you. The more in tune you are with nature, the more diversity of foods you're eating that grow around you in particular and locally, and the more of that air you're breathing, the more resilient your immune system is going to be. And and I can attest to this myself. I mean, I used to get sick all the time. I used to get seasonal allergies, and I started spending time outside and eating healthy, and I feel a lot better. They say that like if you eat honey from that's produced locally, it will help your immune system. And that makes sense, right? I mean, you have a bunch of bees flying around pollinating all these different species of plants, and then they go back to the hive and make honey. They basically this honey is basically like like an elixir of a sort. And the same is true with all of the plants that are growing around you. If you're eating like all the different plants, then you're going to take in it. You're taking basically a little bit of a dose, and you're building up a tolerance to it. And where if you don't, if you eat a bunch of processed foods and then you go outside somewhere where you never go outside, the pollen is just going to tear you apart. And again, I used to have seasonal allergies all the time, and this would happen to me. So just understand that intelligence is not. If we equate intelligence to job performance, we we are missing the entire rest of the natural world, the entire rest of the ecosystem, and how it actually functions, just just for profits. Okay, there's a whole lot more to thriving on this planet than that. And I'm I don't know. I mean, it's interesting to think about, because we are killing ourselves as a species, and the reasons are obvious, but we can't figure it out because we're so we're so bound to our social conditioning that we're afraid to challenge the status quo. We're afraid to even behave differently because we've become comfortable with how we behave. We think that hiding in a house with air conditioning all day is good for us, but we think it's good for us because it's comfortable. But then you go outside and you get allergies, and you're taking antihistamines every day. It's like, are you sure you're doing everything right? If the fact is we're not. So just give that a little thought. Try to diversify everything that goes into your body, including the air, the information, and obviously the food. The food is probably the most important one. Even the things you touch. Okay, I mean, there's there's not a lot of research, but there's research around grounding, or there's another word for it. Basically, walking barefoot on grass. It helps your immune system. It helps you sleep better. It does a lot, and helps inflammation. And if you just, I started walking outside on my lawn, and there's a lot. My lawn isn't like perfect, right? It's got a lot of got clovers. It's got like all kind of dandelions. It's got all kind of stuff in it, and that diversity it's basically giving my body information that helps my immune system live better. It helps me survive on this planet better. And again, it's literally transferring information from through my feet into my body, and helping my immune system get stronger. So if you're going to go try walking somewhere outside barefoot, try to find some place that obviously hopefully doesn't hurt your feet, but try to find some don't go walking on a golf course where the grass is perfect. Go walking on outside on some clovers and some where there's a mix of species in the grass that will improve the diversity. Okay, it will improve your immune system in effect, and you'll feel better. We need to put ourselves back into nature. I mean, we know that first world countries are not happy. Okay, we know that these third world countries who are seemingly living in shambles, we know that they're happier than us oftentimes. And why is that? You have to really question what we are doing wrong. You have to question our social conditioning, because it's killing us. And I know you may not want to give up those comforts, but you don't have to give up the comforts completely. If you spend enough time outside every day, and then you go inside in your air conditioned house, you'll be all right. So Lee Camp, this comedian and a political commentator, he has a quote. He says, "Imagine outside of your social conditioning." That's what we need to do here. Okay, it'll help the species a lot. We get so bound up in our social conditioning, in the ways that we learn to live, that we never questioned if they were actually healthy for us. And obviously a lot of people do question it, but they get the wrong answers, and typically the answers they get are, they're divided along these political, racial, and social cultural lines, rather than, you know, putting ourselves back into nature. Okay, so if you're somebody who thinks you have everything figured out, but you're getting sick every week, then you don't have everything figured out. You're not living the way humans were evolved to live. You are living in the way that you learned to live in your mere 50-year lifespan, whereas, we've been here a lot longer than 50 years. So everything you learned in that 50 years it might help you survive financially, but it's not going to help you survive physically and mentally even, right? So give that a little thought. Thanks for watching.